Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm watching What Will the World Look Like in 250 Million Years by Mapmen. Obviously, as we all know, the world constantly shifts, tectonic plates are moving, continents are moving, so eventually there won't be 7 continents, there will be less. Hell, maybe we'll get another mega continent or supercontinent, whatever it was called, you know, like Pangea. So let's see what it will look like in 250 million years.
Peru next to Australia,
Mozambique joined to India.
Malaysia in Antarctica.
Today we'll be asking, where will the countries be in 250 million years?
Welcome to Mapmen.
We're the men.
And here's the map.
Mapmen, Mapmen, Mapmen.
When Mark and I hang out together, one of the things we often discuss...
We never hang out, this is a purely business relationship.
One of the things we would discuss is how disappointingly few double landlocked countries there are. Countries that are not only landlocked, but surrounded by landlocked countries.
There's Uzbekistan, there's Liechtenstein, and that's it.
This is because
Only
the world's
2.
major landmasses are nicely spread out across the world's oceans, and the furthest you can ever get from
Well, it's a combination of that and the fact that having access to the sea is really important for a country to thrive and not be conquered by its neighbors. So any territory that finds itself double landlocked probably won't last as an independent country for long. Anyway, don't worry about that. The point still stands about the way the world's landmass is spread out. Yeah, that's true. However, these days, your chances of being conquered by your neighbors is not as high as it used to be back in the day. So, I mean, Liechtenstein probably won't be conquered. Uzbekistan, well, that could happen, but it probably won't.
And the furthest you can ever get from a coastline is just 1,600 miles, here in the un-Chinese-sounding Gurban-Tungut Desert in China.
But the continents haven't always been this well socially distanced.
180 million years ago, before the Second and First World Wars, the world looked like this.
Of course, the dinosaurs who were in charge at the time knew nothing of the theory of plate tectonics that were about to drive them apart.
It wasn't until the year 1915 collided with the person Alfred Wegener that this new and groundbreaking idea took hold. Alfred was a super smart German meteorologist and geophysicist who was particularly good at puzzles. And looking at the world map, Alfred spotted a pattern. The shape of South America fits suspiciously snugly into West Africa. Could it be that the continents fitted together in a sort of puzzle of their own?
Many of the pieces of this puzzle were missing, having been eroded over millions.
It's crazy how back in the day, most people probably didn't even think about that. Because these days, the moment you look at a map, you see South America and Africa and you think, hold on, these two look like they go together. I feel like the majority of people at least had that thought enter their mind even when they were just kids. Because it does look like they fit together.
Millions of years. But Alfred realised this particular puzzle had legacy written all over it and set out to prove that their interlocking shapes weren't a coincidence.
He started by looking at rocks and realised that the rocks on the east coast of South America were, in many places, identical to the rocks on the west coast of Africa. An encouraging bit of evidence, but rocks alone weren't solid enough.
Yeah.
So next, Alfred studied the fossil record.
There was evidence of the exact same species of dinosaur living on separate continents, vast oceans apart. He found fossils of the Lystrosaurus in Africa, Antarctica, and here in India.
It was thunderingly unlikely that this unique Triassic animal could have evolved on 3 separate occasions. The more logical explanation was that these landmasses must once have been connected.
Thunderingly.
Using his new theory called continental drift, or Kontinentalverschiebung for long, Wegener mapped exactly how the continents fitted together millions of years ago.
He called this supercontinent Pangea,
Greek for all the earth.
The theory went thus. North and South America were once attached to modern-day Africa, but they broke apart, forming the Atlantic Ocean.
And India was once attached to Antarctica, but it broke off and smashed into Asia with such force it made the Himalayan mountain range. Everyone else at the time...
Pretty sure the Himalayan mountain range is still growing because the tectonic plates there are still moving. India is still being pushed up against Asia. So Mount Everest might be getting higher by like 1 millimeter every couple of years.
Roundly disagreed with him, as at the time people always do. He froze to death in Greenland before anyone took his stupid theory seriously.
But years later, while he was still dead, scientists happened upon something that proved Alfred was right. They discovered how continents were able to move, something Alfred had never bothered to work out. They found that convection currents in the mantle, or hot bit beneath the Earth's crust, slowly drive landmasses apart, then back together again, over cycles of about 500 million years.
This meant that Pangea, far from being the original supercontinent, was actually the 11th to have formed in Earth's history.
So if the continents are still moving, which they are, the obvious and exciting question becomes...
when are the dinosaurs coming back?
Where are the continents going
Never.
next?
The best way of understanding where we might end up is to take a good
Dinosaurs are never coming back, at least not while humans are alive. Also, let's be honest here, humanity probably won't survive long enough to see another supercontinent for many, many reasons. Though it would be interesting to see how that would look like. I assume there would be a lot of conflict.
Good look at which way the convection currents are currently flowing all under the world.
And where better to start than the most tectonically active place on the planet? The Australia plate has, as you can see, moved northwards a massive 3.5 metres in the last 50 years. At 7 centimetres a year,
Damn.
northwards a massive 3 active place on the planet.
Look at how much that
The Australia
moved.
plate has, as you can see, moved northwards a massive 3.5 metres in the last 50 years. At 7 centimetres a year, this makes it the fastest moving tectonic plate on Earth.
Whew. This movement is actually causing chaos on GPS systems here in Australia. The data points still used today were fixed way back in 1994 when the country was a full 1.8 metres further southwest than it is now, which can be the difference between the right lane and the pavement.
The
Yeah,
effects
that
of
actually
Australia's
could be.
movement are already being felt across fiery Indonesia, where the subduction of the Australia plate under the Sunda plate has forged some of the most active volcanoes in the world, like Mount Merapi, which some of the best people in the world are known to have climbed. As Australia continues north, it's expected to make a handbrake turn to the left as it gobbles up Papua New Guinea before absolutely smashing into China. So Beijing and
Korea.
Shanghai may find themselves
North and
8,000
south.
metres up on top of a new mountain range as big as the Himalayas.
Meanwhile, in the Western Hemisphere, the Nubian and Somali plates will split apart along the East African Rift Valley, a process which has already begun, as demonstrated by this massive crack which appeared in Kenya in 2018. Over the next few million years, we can expect a new sea to appear here. The big bit of Africa will continue to head north towards Europe, so get ready for the Alps to get bigger and the Mediterranean to disappear.
Somewhere between 1 and 200 million years from now, and yes, that really is the kind of margin for error we're dealing with, Antarctica will slowly make its way to join the big collision party alongside Australia and Southeast Asia.
Leaving only the Americas, which are travelling in a westerly direction, widening the Atlantic and shrinking the Pacific into non-existence. You can see North America here, nicely spooning Australia, with South America cozying up to now tropical Antarctica, finishing off our big continental group hug.
Aw, isn't that nice? Scientists call this future supercontinent Novo Pangaea.
Latin and Greek for New All-the Earth.
Imagine that, one happy, connected island with no oceans to divide us. But how sure can we be that this is exactly how it's going to pan out?
That would be
Positively
terrible.
unsure. Even with all the data
Let's assume humanity actually manages to survive until that point, which it definitely won't, but let's say we do. How many countries' territories would shrink into non-existence because of the movements? There would be so much conflict over resources and territory. No, I don't see a future like this where humanity could actually survive. It just wouldn't happen. So if we survive until that point, nothing kills us earlier, all the wars that will happen because of the tectonic plate movements is what's gonna kill us. Luckily, this is millions of years into the future, so nothing to worry about.
and powerful computer modelling in the world, there's a decent chance the experts have got it wrong.
Novo Pangaea is merely what would happen if the convection currents in the mantle carry on exactly as they are and don't change. But some really radical scientists have come up with some different models for how the world could look.
First, there's Aurica, where Eurasia splits in half and both the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans close up.
Then there's Pangaea Ultima, the name which sounds most like a terrible Bond film, where Britain gets closer to America.
And finally, there's Amasia, where all the continents congregate around the North Pole, except Antarctica, who, no matter what the model is always the laziest continent. Watching the world's land masses slowly cycle around the globe as millions of years tick by is a nice reminder of our own utterly insignificant place within the universe.
Which is why we recommend sharing this video with any self-important friends you may have as a way of reminding them how crushingly unimportant they really are.
Of course, wondering where countries will be in 250 million years assumes countries and even humans will last that long. Right now, it seems the chances of us surviving more than a few meters of continental drift are incredibly unlikely, as we grapple with overpopulation, climate change, pandemics, wars, pollution, and mass extinction.
But if we do somehow survive and find ourselves living side by side on a supercontinent packed with double landlocked countries, we're at least going to have to figure out how to be nicer to one another and extend the olive branch of human friendship.
So, fancy a pint?
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Not really thirsty.
Yeah, humanity won't survive this long, so nothing to worry about. Especially since all of us are going to be dead by that point anyway, so who cares? But if we somehow did survive, we're just going to have a ton of conflict. The geopolitical situation would change so much. Imagine how trade would be affected. If there's no more oceans dividing continents, everything's going to have to be shipped on land or by air. And the most efficient way is via the ocean. So that's not good. All the countries that are landlocked are most likely just going to be annexed and conquered by the countries that actually still have sea access. So a future like this looks pretty bleak, though once again, luckily, we don't have to worry about that. So, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider subscribing and leaving a like. If you're interested, why not watch this video right here? And with that, I'll see you in the next video.